was in the millions.
Do you remember what you spent the money on? Were you frugal after that point? I'm curious then, after winning the first Olympia, how much do you make from something like that? Like, what changes financially when that happens? Are people throwing deals your way? Is there like a cash prize? I've always been curious about that.
The biggest thing I got from winning the Olympia was the endorsement. The prize money for winning the Olympia, $100,000, that's nothing. You know, I did use that to pay off my house, but the big money came from endorsements, you know. Other stuff that I did, like I had a supplement contract, you know, clothing contract, I had shoe contract. So all the real money comes from endorsement.
Yeah. Do you remember back then how much that was combined?
It was pretty close to $1 million, yeah.
Back in, what year was this, 2000?
Well, I won my first Olympia in 98.
Okay.
Yeah, and of course, you know, I had quite a few endorsements though, and then you know I had personal appearances I was doing, you know, so it was in the millions.
Do you remember what you spent the money on? Were you frugal after that point because you've always come from?
I saved a lot and put in retirement. Like I said, you know, I'll be getting a retirement check, I think at the end of this year. And from one of those, and when I turn 60 next year, I get my police retirement, and then you know, Social Security. I put money into. I put a lot of money into that also. So I'll be pretty much set for life, you know.
Now, at what point then, after winning, did people start recognizing you when you would walk in as a police officer? And they would say, "Wait a second, are you Ronnie? Is that you? I've seen you." And then they put down what they were stealing. And
yeah,
it's like
yeah, because you know, everybody was doing stories on me. CNN was doing stories. The local news channel, all of them. You know, I did so much with so many different news stations. Paper. Back then, you know, they had a lot of magazine stuff. You know, I did a lot of magazine. I did a lot of radio. So back then, you know, I became known for that. You know, you do talk shows like Jay Leno and Montel. Even Roseanne had a show I did. Mm-hmm. So I was pretty popular, you know, and still am today. You know. I think I'm more popular now than I was because of social media. You know, they didn't have that when I was coming up, you know. But because of the social media thing, I'm more popular today with the younger crowd than I am. Like, I was just in a store right before I came here when we was at Chipotle getting. I mean, I think this kid had to be no more than 8 years old. Like, I saw you on TikTok.
On TikTok?
Yeah. You know, I got to take a picture. And I get that a lot, though. And then, like, when I was just recently in Italy, and most of the kids that came up to me were, like, junior high and high school. So I think one of the people that was there asked the kid, "How do you know him?" And they're like, "Yeah, we saw him on TikTok, or we saw him on YouTube or something, you know."
Yeah.
So I say, because of, you know, social media, I'm a lot more, like 3 times more known than I was back then.
So do you say then you're making more money now than you were?
Way more.
Really?
Way more now than I did back then.
Do you mind sharing how much you were making when you were winning Olympia multiple times in a row?
A little over $1 million, you know, when I was winning the Olympia. Then, you know, now I make millions from different sources, you know, like the YouTube. I got my own supplement company. Yeah. I have a clothing endorsement, you know. But it's mostly from social media.
So where did this intensity and wantingness to work and push yourself and excel and everything that you did, because you said you graduated cum laude, you applied to 100 jobs, you were an intense lifter ever since you were like 12 years old. You've continued not only to excel, but also to have this crazy high level of dedication and focus towards every single thing that you do in life.
And
where does this come from? Was it something that was instilled to you by your parents, or was it just like you think it's an innate thing? You were born with it?
It was something that I was born with. I was always trying to be the best at everything that I did. I was always challenging myself to be the best at everything it was that I did, because being the best, the rewards were greater, you know, and I always challenged myself at everything that I did, everything. Even if I was, you know, playing a pickup game of cards, checkers, chess, anything, I was always challenging myself to be the best at everything that I did. Same thing in college, like you were saying, you know, if I wasn't the smartest guy in every class I went to, I would always study with the smartest guy. Like, who's in here? Who in here in this class is smarter than me? Most of the time I was the smartest. Sometimes I wasn't. So I'm like, okay, if I learn from him, I can be, you know, like him.
Yeah.
And I've always challenged myself like that. Everything I've always did. Not like you said, it's kind of like that innate ability that I was kind of like born with.
Why do you feel like you had to push yourself to be the best all the time?
Because, like I said, it's that feeling, you know, the rewards you get, basically.
Yeah.
What are the
Rewards
rewards?
are so much better. Well, let's see. If I was the smartest, you know, at something, you know, it was always a challenge thing to me. You know, saying to myself that I accomplished this. And so it's kind of like a personal vendetta I have in myself for the most part. If you're not the best at something, you can always become better. There's always a way that you can either outwork somebody or outthink them. And that's kind of the way I looked at bodybuilding. You know, when I first got into it, I wasn't that good because I really didn't know that much. I figured that, you know, if I could do things that certain people won't do, I can be just as good as they are.
Was it difficult for you transitioning out of professional bodybuilding, knowing that like this is the one thing that you were like the best in the world at many years in a row? And then not doing that, was that like, it's got to be a huge shock?
Yeah, in a way it was, because, you know, you're entering into a different field, something that you don't know a lot about. But it was the same way with bodybuilding, you know. I didn't know a lot about that. And eventually I learned, you know. And like I said, if you're not the smartest, you can always learn from somebody who is. And that's pretty much how I looked upon life my whole entire life.
Are you taking the same approach now with social media?
Oh, yeah. I take the same approach with just about everything I do.
Yeah.
I figure if there's a will and there's a way. And with me, there's always a will.